Welcome to
DamnBoo. When shit's so fucked up,
all you can say is
DamnBoo.
Welcome back, y'all.
Welcome back. Episode 5.
Episode 5.
Episode 5.
Oh my god. We almost to the double digits, like halfway there.
Halfway.
Yeah.
If we can count. No, just
Hey,
kidding.
don't do that.
No, but something that just came up to me. It's our 1 month anniversary since we
You
last
remember?
filmed. Yeah, I know.
Oh
Oh my god. Congratulations to us.
Dang, it's really
Happy
been 1
anniversary.
month. I didn't get you a present.
It's alright. It's alright.
It's okay. 2 month anniversary.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
1 month.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, like when we first started, I think that was such a weird transition because I think we just went in front of the mics and just winged it. But now
we're here.
we winging it slightly, with some landing in between, little sprinkle.
Little sprinkle. But we definitely upgraded since then. Since our first, we got a poster. We got we've been had a camera, but we have lights. Damn.
Website, socials. We getting. I'm not gonna say too much, but we got bookings.
We got some exciting things y'all not even ready for.
We always working. All of our
it's
team,
in the works.
We put it into, a little mix, put it in the potion, sprinkle it in. A little something.
I'm telling y'all gonna be shocked when we release what it is, things we have and all that.
Exactly. But without further ado, let's move on to our first segment, Voice Out Show Wow.
Yes.
You want to start?
Yes. So, first person I want to start off is Luz Villard. I believe that's how you, or Villard. She goes by either last name.
Okay.
But, and she is a former aide to the Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. And I had the chance of speaking with her, doing an interview with her for an article I had to write, about Emerson's intercultural student affairs. They were holding a panel about mass incarceration and abolition. And so they had speakers like Raymond Santana from the Exonerated Five, Keon Sprinkle, who's also a Boston exonerated. The conversation was deep.
Yeah.
But it was really, really I had time before the panel to speak to her, and I thank the intercultural student affairs for giving me the opportunity, and to Mia and her team.
For sure.
And she showed me so much about her experience with how she grew up in the foster care system to having a parent that was incarcerated, and so she's always she's working on so many big things, and she's kind of slowing down her role in government and politics just for a little bit. She's not stopping there yet, but just for a little bit, because she's gonna go to school, and she got a full ride scholarship to Georgetown University, so she's gonna work on her master's. Yes. And I'm wow, if you ever get the chance to meet her energy, her vibe, you can tell she's definitely trying to help people any way that she can. She's always on it, and she definitely has her own perspective and experience, and so she's able to help people out in different communities, and it was just really great speaking to her. And so if y'all can find her, I couldn't find any of her socials to list her down, but just catch up with the work that she's doing. Also, and if y'all could just stay tuned to the work that she's doing, or look back on the work that she was doing previously, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh. Wow.
Yes,
I love that.
Yeah. It just shows me women are doing amazing
Powerful.
things. Yes.
It's powerful.
And she goes by Afro-Caribbean. She has Puerto Rican and Dominican descent, so
I just want to be her friend.
Literally. But yeah, next person I also want to shout out is Marseille Martin. Y'all already know. Y'all already know
her on the
girl.
magazine cover.
Yep. Oh my God.
She looks so pretty.
So
Oh my God.
She does it all the time. She's like setting standards in her own way. Like she's so young. She's like 16, I think. And I'm like, that's wow. She's doing some big things out here.
I wish I could have done that shit when I was her age. But like the fact that she does it and she's just outward with it. You know what I'm saying? Like she has so many projects lined up. I think I remember like watching an interview before where she was like talking a little bit about like getting into that, and now a year later, that's crazy.
Yes. And so, you know, she's doing some big things. Like you would be like, what? Like if y'all know her, she's I mean, people mainly know her from Blackish. It's a TV show. So, but she's done other things, and she's also been in Little, and that's when she got the executive producer title. Executive producer.
Exec.
And that was before. She executive producer before me. Dang. But yeah, and she's currently working on her own little project, you know.
Oh my gosh. Good for her.
And she's doing it I believe with Disney. And so they're doing like, it's about a girl who goes through sickle cell anemia, and she's also there's other cast members as too, but I think a lot of people were excited about that she was able to get representation in these roles. And so we see like the 3 girls that were released for this, and everybody's like, wow, you got 3 dark-skinned girls in this. Wow.
As it should be. Wow.
Yes. Yeah, so that's who I wanted to get a shout out to. Y'all already know. Y'all can find her pretty much on everything.
Literally, I mean, at the age of 16, and then who knows, like 10 years from now, I'll be following every project though. That's all I know.
Yes.
I will be following that. Wow. Well,
who do you guys shout out?
So I got 2 people. First one, I talked to her about a month ago, and she's amazing. Her name is Mistress Marley.
Ooh,
she's a
I like that name.
I know, it rolls off the tongue. But she's a professional dominatrix, and she's a very prominent figure in the sex working community. She is the founder of the Black Dom Sorority. The Black Dom Sorority is essentially a collective space for Black and Afro-Latinx individuals interested in being a femdom or a financial dom, which means like kind of like dominatrix in the sense of like taking people's money type of thing, and like using that as like a king type of, because people got that.
Sounds juicy.
It is very juicy. But like she is a sex educator. She hosts so many patrons on Patreon and everything called like Sex Academy. She helps out for the people who need help with vanilla sex, who need people helping out with sugar babying or whatever, BDSM. She's a very prominent like figure. She lives in New York and everything. So, you know, shout out.
She from what?
But, you know, I'm gonna shout her out too, because she was from North Carolina originally.
Okay.
But I don't know if y'all have ever seen that video, but it was a video of her at one of the HBCUs in North Carolina. Where she had an old white man on a leash who was her sub at the time, and she went viral because everyone was like, oh my gosh, she got her like sugar daddy on like a leash, and she's like, no, that's my sub. And everyone was like, okay.
They was shocked for that one.
But you know, outside of that, she's also a very prominent activist in a lot of the rights going towards sex, normalizing sex work, making sure that they have protections. As you know, they do not get a lot of the mutual aid from the government and everything because of their profession. So all about it is decriminalizing sex work. So that's why I want to bring her up today, me wanting to advocate for sex rights and everything, and making sure that we consider every protection, every right for sex workers. She's the one. She's the one. She's so amazing. Like, I don't know. I think she's Aquarius. She's an Aquarius. Ooh. So, you know, I had to. I had to. You know, it was already there. But moving on, the next person I want to shout out is Nikaya Chanel. She is also from North Carolina. She is a professional pole dancer and everything.
Ooh.
And a yoga fitness instructor. She also teaches pole dancing in general. But
I know she got that flexibility.
She is an athlete. Let me just say,
literally,
her muscle tone, her body, like everything about it just screams power. It's just so mesmerizing.
Love that.
Literally, I was so jealous because like Trinity, she got to go see her in Durham, and in person before like the pandemic and everything.
And Trinity's her bestie.
My bestie, you know, a little something. I guess I'll shout out. But she also, Nikaya, she's also the founder of Aerial Allure Pole Showcase. That's where she has like a host of events and everything. Right now it's been kind of stipend with COVID, but she also has mutual aid relief funds, which we will plug in the description below.
We will. So make sure you check it out.
And she's also the owner of Medusa Pole Wear.
Wow.
So she's doing it. Like
Business
she's really
on business.
She's tapping into a lot of different areas and everything. So I believe we need to go ahead and show her out. But those are the two people I got.
Wow. So that was it for our Voice Out Show Out. But make sure y'all let us know who y'all want, like who's doing some big things in your communities, in your neighborhoods. Let us know. We definitely will check them out. And if we can, we'll definitely try and give them, a shout out, whether it's like in our next episode or our future episodes. So make sure you let us know. We're on socials.
Hit us up.
We got Instagram, we got Twitter, we got Facebook, we got LinkedIn. Come on, guys.
All around. Make sure you watch our YouTube channel, though.
Yes, make sure you subscribe. Click that subscribe button.
Look,
and a notification bell.
Moving on, this week's Pen Pals, we're gonna be talking a lot about dating, love, sex,
women,
consent.
Yes.
Consent. Thank you.
She had to make it clear.
I had to make it clear for this one.
Damn. I don't even know where we start. It's a lot.
I mean, I could start off with a little story time.
Ooh, I'm ready for a story time. Let me sit back. Make sure y'all get y'all popcorn. You probably won't be eating popcorn, but get you a little snack. It's got to be juicy.
Look, so I mean, as you know, I just entered the dating landscape.
Oh, we know.
And I've encountered encounters like this where the first question they'll ask me is like, "Oh, what are you?" type of thing.
I hate that question.
I really do. It gives me trauma every time.
I'm like, what? Why do you want to?
Why do you want to know?
No. Or why is that going to be the first question?
Why does that have to be the first? Because it's not even. Sometimes it's not even the fact that they ask that question, but sometimes it's the reasonings behind it. Like what's going to lead up to it. Like I already know how this is going to lay out and everything.
You can already see the vision.
I already can see the vision. And
Raven Baxter.
No. But literally I remember so I received this question, and it was because in like one of my like photos and everything I was wearing like a skirt with like thigh highs and everything, which by the way, cute fit. But anyways, like he was asking me like all these different things, like, "Oh, you really like anime?" And I was like, yeah. And he was like, "Oh, what are you though?" I was like, "Puerto Rican and Filipino." And then he was just like, "Do you wear thigh highs and skirts all the time?" I was like, huh? And then he was like, no, I'm just wondering because I got a thing for Asian girls. Mind you, I already said that I was Puerto Rican. Like I already said that. So he already ignored like that whole entire thing. And I don't know, in that moment, I was like, damn, you were cute too. You was cute too. Now
you had to go there. You had to go there.
There's so much, and I feel like, I've also encountered like different things like in person too, where it was just like, you know what I would like to see you in a schoolgirl outfit. I was like, why? Because like not only does that attach so much to like Asian fetishization, but that also attaches so much to, I'm gonna say it, y'all not gonna like it, but pedophilia, bitch. I was like, y'all, like literally, I don't know. There's just I feel like if we really unpack a lot of these fetishizations for ethnic identities, for racial identities, a lot of these are problematic. A lot of these are colorist, are pedophilic, are racist, are not preferences, but like
there's no.
Exactly. So I don't know. I think that's just a part of being a woman of color, dating.
I'm telling you, first of all, being a woman is hard. Mm-hmm. Being a woman of color in the dating scene, in the, just talking about sex and just talking about all these different, like, groups of topics that we talking about today. Mm-hmm. That's hard, period.
It is.
And it's like, why? And it's so much, it already brings us to, there's so much stereotypical roles that people expect of women. And it's like, can you get it through your head? Mm-hmm. We're not in that time period, okay?
I know.
It's a new one, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm setting my own standards today.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, it starts really young too. Like, and I was like in this article, She the People. It talks about, I didn't even realize. I'm like, oh, when they want us to play with Barbie dolls, or like girls' colors should be pink, like, and it's like, no, not at all. Right. But a lot of people push that on different genders. So then when you like grow up, you kind of like grow up with that, I don't know, like that stigma that's supposedly the norm, and that's not at all. And it's like things like women should know how to cook. Women are expected to leave their jobs in order to take care of their children at home, or that women should have children. And should be, their main responsibility should be taking care of the children. And I'm like, no, we could do it all. We could do it all.
Literally. I mean, what's interesting about that too is like, there's like a attached history with a lot of like adhering to those like kind of like making those like standards as, and kind of like conflicting them as, oh, that's just what I want to see in a person, and I think that history comes from, honestly, like comparing women, and specifically comparing it between women of color too, because I know for the fetish around Asians and specifically East Asian women and who are light skinned and everything, it came from like these two like weird stereotypical like names that it was called, like, I think it was like the lotus flower for like one version of Asian women that were supposed to be subservient and supposed to be submissive and everything, and it was like attached to this whole entire like movie like archetype and everything, which, by the way, most of those movies portraying Asian women were not played by like Asian women. They were played by white women who were portraying yellowface and everything. So it was like this whole entire thing, right, of having the submissive type, but then also having this weird stereotype called, like, I think it was like the dragon lady or something like that, where it was like supposed to be like the seductress, she's dangerous, she's supposed to be the downfall of white men or some shit. And
here we go again.
Literally having those like archetypes and those stereotypes being portrayed in like media and everything informed a lot of decisions whenever it came to like the cultural understandings, and whenever they went over to those countries of going through pillage and war and everything, and kind of pinning Asian women against like women who didn't want to be fit into these like standards. It's like, oh, you don't want to fit into those standards, but Asian women can do that. And it's like, that's why I really don't feel like fetishes they just appear out of a vacuum. They don't.
It's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. Like, fuck that shit.
Literally.
What? And I'm like, it's funny too, because like I kind of had also, I'm not really into the dating game like that, but but
you had 2 times.
I don't like. Oh, yeah, I get into. I'm gonna share a little story time too. I mean, it's not much of a story time.
Okay.
But
grab your popcorn.
Yo, y'all getting 2 story times in one day? Damn. Must be nice.
Literally.
But it was also like so I don't even remember when, but like it was a guy, and I was like, oh, he's cute, okay. And it was on date app match, right? And then I'm like asking him questions, and it should have registered in my head, and I kind of was just like, huh? But I started asking him questions, like, I'm like, wait, no way is he trying to fetishize me. It's like, oh, asking about my race. And I'm like, so are you only dating Black women? Like, what's the thing? Like, and I was like, there's something seeming a little off. So I just keep digging and asking questions. Because I'm like, I'm curious. I want to know your mind. I want to know what stupidity is going on in there. So I'm asking him. And the fetishization that came up was, it had to be with me just having a big ass, I guess. And that's a thing a lot of Black women go through, and that's the fetishization that we go through. And I also found like that where it stemmed from actually was from they mentioned this in Forbes, and they had an article, and it said it started with Sarah Bartman. She was a South African woman, and they created an exhibition of her because she had a big ass.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was in the 1800s, and so they put her in like this, basically they just showed her out, and that's taking advantage of her anyways. And it was just for these European men. And I was like, oh no. That's, and it like crushed my soul, because I was just like, why can't someone just get to know you for you? You know what I mean? Why does it have to like play that? And plus, these like stereotypes and like thoughts of fetishization. You're trying to put everybody in a category, and that don't fit everybody. That's not how everyone functions. That's not the way everyone looks. So you having this vision in your head already, you kind of like bring across like these stereotypes and like the way you should treat a person based on the knowledge you think is, an accurate portrayal of somebody.
Right. Yeah. I remember, now you mentioned about like dating apps and everything. I think a lot of people don't want to admit that they have like that their preferences are very race based, very ethnic based and everything. And I was reading like this study from the New York Times. It was from this book. It was called like Dataclism or whatever. And basically it was like this whole entire like study around OkCupid, which is another dating app, right? And a lot of the participants said that they would never talk to someone who had a racial preference or had an ethnic preference, or they themselves don't have any of those preferences, right? But then whenever they looked at their interactions between who they messaged, who they matched with, who they engaged with the most, a lot of them had preferences. A lot of them, and it shows. A lot of them, like, I think the studies showed that like Asian men were least likely to ever get like engagements and everything. Wow. And then white men were always the ones that, for I think non-Black POC, were the ones that would get the most engagement from and everything. And then for Black women, they would only, I think it was mainly for other Black men and everything, or other Black women and everything. So it was like having, I think, mainly on the side of towards like white people and everything, and coming into spaces where it's predominantly POC and everything. I think that's the problem, I think that's where it lies, is the fact that like we do have like, it's, I don't know, I think it's important to know that we do have internalized a lot of things about colorism, a lot of things about racism, and it's checking those things that makes us more aware of it, so that we can further change it, we could further disrupt it and everything. Because I don't know, for me, I think my first representation, I think, of predominantly a Southeast Asian woman was from Mean Girls. And you remember what happened in Mean Girls. It was like categorizing all the Asians into like this one group, right? And they put down, I think, this whole entire narrative. And I know Tina Fey was behind this shit, so look. But basically what happened was, I think the coach was basically grooming these girls. And the girls were fighting over him. And nobody clocked it once because it was supposed to be comedic relief, right? But when you really look at it, a coach, coach, right, at a high school, for high schoolers, messing around with high school girls, and it's predominantly with Asian, you know what I'm saying? So, and like, I mean, for Tina Fey, she has a long history of being like that too, like of portraying Asian women in that way. I remember there was also another comedian, Amy Schumer.
I think you did mention this before too.
Girl, look, she said that she has a competition because Asian women are the most desirable, right? And she kept saying that they never talk back. They have the smallest coochies, and they kept saying like all these like scrutinize. And she's talking to this crowd, and they're eating this shit up. And I started thinking about this, like...
It tells you a lot about the crowd, too.
It tells you a lot about the crowd and how normalized this shit is. Like, y'all don't... I think that's a problem there, too, is, like... We don't really see it as, like, a violation of consent. We see it as, like, oh, that's just, like, the cultural attitude. That's just stereotypes. Yes, we're going to dismantle it, but we don't see it for what it is. We don't see it as y'all putting them in the category, putting us in a category, and no longer seeing us as humans. Y'all see us as objects from that point.
Literally... That as we were like, thinking about this episode, that's what came to my mind. It's that we're seen as sexual objects. And I was thinking too, I'm like, y'all don't know how bad it triggers people. Like I remember being young and just, when men would just be standing outside and they always got the, hey yo, shorty, or let me get your number. And you're like, you're grown, first of all. Second of all, I'm not an object. I'm not shorty. I'm not shorty. Come to me correct, please. And they be making little Snickers and stuff like that, and that makes you uncomfortable too. And it's just like, but why would you do that? Like, you don't know how to treat a person.
Literally.
Like, I'm like, that just threw me off. And I just remember, because I was like young, and I'll be walking with my group of friends, or if I'm even walking by myself. And that's why it's like, just being able to walk by yourself sometimes is kind of like scary in a way, because you're like, yeah. And so it's like, why are women looked at as sexual objects, or just even treated as objects in general, or nothing compared to an actual human or an individual? I think that takes away like who we are as people, and you just basically degrading us.
Literally. And I think echoing to that fact too, it's like when we get catcalled, when we get followed, when we get like commented on in any type of way, when we go out about our business in public and everything, I think a lot of the people who do that don't either they do realize or they just don't care. Yeah. That shit is traumatic. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit is scary. I remember there's this one time, I think I remember telling you, it was like around last year and everything, after we went to the beach and everything. That man on the train, I was wearing my big lashes that day, you know what I'm saying? I was looking cute. And he sat like a seat away from me. And literally nowadays, I don't look up for my phone. I keep it walking. Literally. I don't engage in any way. Like, even if you say hi, whatever, no. Like, if I don't know you, I'm moving on. So he was like saying something to me, and I was like, I had my headphones in, and I was like, what? And then he was like, your eyelashes. I was like, oh. And then he was like, oh yeah, you look really pretty, but you also look really sad too. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay. And then I like put my earphone back in, and I looked back at my phone, and he was just like, what's your number? And I was like, what? And then all of a sudden he started following me, right?
Oh no.
And I felt him behind me, because one of the things I remember doing was like, like whenever you like kind of brush back your hair, you kind of look over type of thing. I saw him like corner of my eye, and he was just like really like closed off to himself, and he was trying to pretend like he wasn't doing nothing. And that's when I picked up my pace, right? And I try to beat him like down these like series of stairs. I go up to the train station that I live at and everything. And the one thing I remember doing was like, so I follow there was this girl on TikTok. I'll probably mention her like later on, but like she's a stripper and everything, and she had a lot of stories of like encountering clients in the parking lot after her shifts and everything, how they would catcall her, harass her and everything. And she said that to go ahead and bark at them, like act crazy and everything. But Trinity, all of a sudden, she called me and everything. And that's when I was like, okay, this might be my opportunity to at least have someone on the phone just in case something happens, right? So then I answer, and I remember saying like these series of things. I was just like, oh yeah, you know my cousin came back from prison yesterday, right? He coming over to my house right now. And she was like, oh really? I was like, yeah. You know, he got put away for manslaughter, but you know they didn't find him guilty. They didn't find him guilty. They didn't find the body. And like I'm having all these things. I'm saying this out loud as hell.
Yeah.
Right?
Just because you're afraid at this point.
Right. I felt him behind me and all that stuff. And all of a sudden she was like, oh, is he coming now? I was like, yeah. He sent me like a text and everything. Like apparently he bringing his buddy too that he met in prison and all that stuff. You know, I'm trying to say all these things behind me and all that stuff.
Trying to give him a hint of like, please don't come near me at
exactly. All. And the creepiest thing that still like burns in my memory was like when I turned the corner, I seen him like, mind you, I know he doesn't live where I like near where I live. He ducks into like this, like between two houses where the garages connect. That's and everything.
So creepy.
And he just disappears. And I remember sprinting back home. I don't even remember FaceTime with Scott after that too. Like it was a whole thing. And
that's scary.
It's just, and the fact that every woman has that story though. And I remember looking up statistics of, I think about, according to this organization called StopStreetHarassment.org and everything. 75% of women at least have an encounter where a stranger was following them.
Dang, that's a lot.
75%. Three in four women. Like,
that's a lot.
Yet the men have said that none of their homeboys, none of their friends have ever done. None of them have done it before. Lies.
Because how is it 3 and 4 women then?
Exactly.
That's just too many. And just like thinking of that, that's really scary that our brains have to like be already prepared to try to like handle these situations or find ways. And there's instances in a lot of people that they've really didn't have like help until probably the very last minute or weren't able to get out of the situation at all. And that's just really scary in general. And it's like we have to go through these extreme lengths just for someone not to follow us. Like, and it's like that's like mind blowing. That's insane because it's like, why am I being like treated this way? And it's because I'm a woman. And that's the sad like truth of it all. And that's just a serious like conversation. And it's like sometimes you can't control, you know, certain things. Like if it was an option of you to go home earlier throughout the day rather than late through the night, or to not take, you know, public transportation or just be in your own car. Like those are just some things that we just can't control.
And they're not like things that determine anything either.
And that's like, these are just some of the things that women have to go through. And like we talked about being fetishized, dating, like a number of things. There's probably even stuff that we won't even get to today. But yeah.
I mean, the number of violence against women of color, especially for Black transgender women too, is a whole nother thing. Like, it's a whole nother thing, and it's the fact that like when women like go on these dating apps, there's a completely different set of fears that women have than what men have and everything, what men have, because I feel like for men it might be like, I don't know, like fucking rejection or some shit. For women, it's the fact that I might get murdered. I might be in a sticky situation. How do I like
get out
navigate this? Like, will I have Ubers by the time I like leave or whatever? You know what I'm saying? Like all of these things. And yeah, I remember like there were so many moments, I think, where I think I was on FaceTime with one of y'all or whatever, and I remember this man, he was like saying something to me. I remember saying like loudly, obnoxiously, being like, goodbye sir, goodbye sir, goodbye sir. I was just like, and it's like, we can never be in peace. And that's why I think sometimes like I kind of shy away from like wearing what I want to
wear. And that's a big conversation within itself.
Right, because I feel scared. I feel scared of like what kind of attention it will bring. And not saying that it will bring, it should. Yeah. But it's the fact that men are trash in that way.
Yeah, it's like, and also, you know, just with the idea of, I want to say, you know, when we talk about things like rape, that's something women are judged a lot about what they wore, and even like I think it was on Business Insider, they were talking about like even when women go in professional settings, like they're the most judged based on their looks, and it's like, well, how can we feel comfortable in a way like and in situations like, you know, rape, there's also people victim blame. And it's like, oh, it was because she was wearing this, or she was looking like this. But no, because that's not what started it. Because someone had in their mind an action that they wanted to do. It had nothing to do based on clothes or how the person looked. Because what are you supposed to say? Like, you can't control these things. You wear what you want to wear. You want to feel comfortable in your own skin, let alone there's so many limitations of us even being able to feel comfortable. So I'm just like, I don't even know.
I think that's a big point, though, is the fact that like all these topics we're talking about, like, there are things that make us uncomfortable, right? There are things that don't make us feel at peace, feel like we can actually just live our lives and everything. Because, you know, with things like, you know, as a survivor and everything, one of the things I've noticed in victim blaming is how internalized it becomes. Because whenever you do go through an experience like that, nobody ever like really talks about how that changes your like whole entire dynamic with intimacy and sex.
And it changes a lot.
Intimacy with yourself, intimacy with others and everything. I remember when it first happened to me, I was so scared of people like holding me, like hugging me and stuff like that. And then for this narrative to be spun around and be like, oh, what was he wearing? Oh, what did you do beforehand? Were you conscious? Were you drunk? Did you do this? Or that? It shouldn't fucking matter what I was doing, what I looked like. And then, you know, we shift that narrative because of the fact that we don't want to confront the fact that it's some of y'all's uncles, it's some of y'all's brothers, it's some of y'all's friends, some of y'all's, you know, whoever, cousins, that are probably ones that are violating people's consent, ignoring, assaulters, abusers. We want to turn the blind eye towards things that don't involve us, but also too that we have this narrative of, oh, boys will be boys. And that's a big thing. I think, you know, and with things like sexual assault and rape, it comes in so many ways. We have stealthing where you don't tell your partner that you were wearing a condom or whatever. You have things like you don't disclose what kind, if you got tested or not, if you have any like diseases. It could also look like as simple as like you choked me in the middle of like an act and I didn't expect that. You know what I'm saying?
If I said no in the middle of any like encounter or interaction, that you didn't oblige to it, like, and so like there's just so many like things you have to think about, like we have to like definitely be careful in not making sure that people ignore these type of talks and conversations. And especially too, I realize like how much it runs in families and cultures and religions too. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard, like, you know, usually it's like, oh, it might be like an uncle's coming around the house or something. Make sure you cover up. Make sure you put your clothes, cover your clothes. You know, make sure you're not wearing anything too tight or revealing or something like that. But it's like,
why should I?
Is he not in my house?
Are you insinuating that he's gonna do something?
Yeah, and so like, also too, like I'm just like, that's just very like, and also like I grew up in Muslim household, so just talking about like conversations about dating and sex and stuff, those aren't very, I mean, I hear people be saying, oh, you know, sometimes I had the birds and the bees talk, or in the movies and stuff like that. I'm like, I didn't ever have a convo like that. Right. And it's something that's not brought a lot into, like, you know, intimate family conversations. And it's kind of like a blind eye, and like everything is ignored. And so when you think about it, some kids are learning about these conversations of sex and, you know, consent and all that from school. Like that's their first, like, you know, example of like what to do, situations, all that, and how to address it. And so like I feel like in a lot of cultures too, kind of it goes back to like, you know, satisfying the men. And how to like follow these customs and traditions. And like, so we have things like, you know, you should, I know it's like a thing in like the Muslim religion, like a lot of it is very kept to yourself and very private, but you have to understand, because when, you know, let's say your daughter ends up in a situation like this or something, how can you make sure that she's safe? The person that she's with is, you know, actually treating her right. Or, you know, how do you make sure it goes both ways too, with also men, you know, people of different sexualities and genders as well. But I feel like it's a very ignored conversation between women.
It is.
Yeah. So I just like,
it's, I mean, and on that too, it's like, I think there's so many things that happens to us that are considered violations of consent, but when we start naming them, that's when it becomes really scary. It's like being like, oh shit, that wasn't consensual. Or like, oh, I didn't like how he did. And sometimes like they don't have to be coming from a place of trauma. They don't have to be something as overt as like him dragging me to the alley and all that stuff, right? What a lot of people would think of and everything. But I think what you said is like, yeah, my parents, they didn't do that. They didn't talk to me about like sex, what goes on. Most of the time, I think my framework of sex was like, don't have it. Like, don't bring a baby in. No,
it's like don't do any of that
abstinence,
stuff. Like, you know, it's not, you shouldn't be doing those things anyway. And it's just like,
don't have sex until you're 30. Like some bullshit like that.
And it's like, what? Or, you know, don't have sex until you're married.
That too. That too. The sex until you're married was, and you know, that's crazy because like in that framework, like they assume not because, I mean, my parents don't know I'm out and everything. So like one of the things that I know of is the fact that like whenever they say don't wait until you get married and everything, they're not imagining me with like a woman. They're not imagining me with someone who might be non-binary or anything. They are imagining me with a man. So essentially when you say that statement, you saying wait until I can please that man. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's when we talk about conversations around consent and everything and sex and pleasure, women are never part of that narrative. We never talk about, like, I can name like on a single hand how many times I felt like I had a pleasurable experience in sex and everything. And a lot of women don't know how to like expect, like wanting to expect from their partners to feel desire, to feel consent, to get an orgasm, to get this, to get that. You know what I'm saying? To what works, because we're always put in this framework that like, no, we have to please, we have to do this, we have to do that, and the third and everything. And I think that's when it becomes a problem, is that I remember I was talking to Jacqueline Friedman. She's an author of this book that talks about affirmative consent, where yes means yes, right? And she was saying, like, you know, there's so many ways that we show no with our bodies that a lot of people don't tune into while we're in the act,
that's
right?
Important.
No with our bodies.
Think about that.
No, because like sometimes, like for me, I know whenever I was dissociating a lot after my assault and everything, like I was unable to say no. Like there was a moment where I just froze because I was put back in that place. But you know, my partner was gonna look into that. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, or at least a bad partner at the time I had, right? So like, in that moment, that's when we have to prioritize pleasure. That's when we have to prioritize consent with pleasure and everything. So I think for a lot of women, it's what she said that really stuck with me is that we're often the gatekeepers of no, rather than it being a mutual understanding with whoever partner. You know, any partner that sees that I'm uncomfortable when you fetishize me, another partner that sees whenever I'm uncomfortable when you objectify me or put a kink on me that I wasn't asking for. Or like, you know, like putting me in a place where I feel uncomfortable. Those are all alarming sounds, but we often don't think of that because we think of assault, harassment, rape, all that stuff in a framework that's like sort of like an SVU vacuum, you know what I'm saying? Like we always think about like that one episode or like that episode or like that's what it was, you know what I'm saying?
And so you like just think about like and go back and just like think about all the situations that didn't go right, that could have went a different way, but you know, we can't go back and fix the past, but you can make sure that, you know, people are educated, people are acknowledging their faults, and also what is being done right.
Absolutely.
And so we're gonna, you know, go into mention and intention, and we gonna end it all. Y'all know when y'all hear mention and intention, we about to slow it down, give y'all some
breathe in, USA.
But you know, we're gonna just talk about, like, I think first thing first, we should learn how to appreciate women and learn how to appreciate women in the right way. And not every woman is the same, so don't go into one expectation or relationship or experience with one woman thinking that, oh, that's the same way I need to treat the women, or that I need to this is how I should cater to someone, because it's not the same.
Women are human beings.
Yes.
The same way that you are. The same way that you treat different friends different ways. Like
you already know. You already know.
Exactly.
But yeah, learn how to appreciate. And I think there's just this attack too that women are like, the thing that just keeps coming to my head is like, I don't know if you've seen the Harry and Meghan Markle, that whole interview. They had an interview with Oprah, and so you know, so many things have been coming forth then, but the constant issue that kept coming up in this scenario was she was being attacked as a woman. She was being attacked as a woman of color, and so why are we, you know, putting this blame and attack? And like they were saying, like the reason why, you know, Meg said it happened was because of her. Well, a lot of issues that had stemmed in the, you know, the royal family was because of her. And y'all didn't learn how to appreciate, especially a woman who is going into a different culture, understanding, background of something that she's not used to. And we're not going to go really far into this, but I just wanted people to kind of understand where that it's coming from, and that this attack, especially women in the public media, women that are actually, you know, running businesses or, you know, seen in a different light. I think we should look beyond the stereotypes. I think a lot of stereotypes that come too with Black women is, you know, if we talk loud, or we talk with our hands and stuff, everything is aggressive. Everything is, you know, oh, that's ratchet, or, you know, she don't know how to, like, you know, probably display herself, or that's not the right way, or we're just seen as loud and, like, objectified. But I think if people learn to understand individuals and learn how different people are communicate in different ways, show their different signs and languages, like you said, like there's so many ways that women say no with their bodies that people are not recognizing. We need to do more of that and actually start to recognize what are those signs, what are those ways we can do that. And that was just like something I wanted to get out, like learn our needs versus our the expectations you're looking for. Learn what, like, I'm like, learn what it is that you need to know about me and what I'm looking for. Not only as a woman, but as an individual, as a human being.
Yep. I mean, for me, I think, you know, our conversations around consent are very narrow, because like I said, like women become like the gatekeepers of no, you know what I'm saying? Like we have to be the ones that say, you know, put the responsibility on us to, you know, refuse to do something. But one thing I think works in terms of consent is this idea called enthusiastic consent, where we
explain that.
Enthusiastic consent. So basically, that's the yes means yes model. So that's where we are both reciprocal. We are both present in the moment. We're both looking for signs of yes and everything, but making sure that we are looking at it from the frame of context, that we are looking for each other's needs, body language, voice, everything in between. Because I think one of the things that, and also the conversations, it takes a lot of conversations. Like I get it, like a lot of hookups, like in the moment, like they're very in the moment, right? But in terms of that, like it can lead to a lot of sticky situations where you get into like, oh, I didn't want that. Like, oh, wait, I didn't want that either. You know what I'm saying? So it's necessary to have a conversation. If I'm gonna be baring my whole bones in front of you and everything, like I think I'd be comfortable with telling you.
The least we can do is have a conversation.
The least we can do is talk about, you know, and what does that conversation look like? It's like, I want it this way. I want you to maybe touch me that way. I kind of don't want to do these certain things, or like I don't want you to pull my hair or like choke. You know what I'm saying? Like I think enthusiastic consent, what it does is we remove the assumptions that people have. We remove the assumptions because like the assumptions that we have are often attached to things that are maybe colorist, or maybe fetishization and everything. I mean, how many guys have told me that they wanted me to see me in like thigh highs and like a schoolgirl outfit with like that pigtail, all these like bullshit things to please them. Enthusiastic consent, what it does is it puts us in autonomy. It puts us in the agency to communicate our desires first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? Because like I feel like a lot of times, like when we enter sexual interactions and everything, we think that it can't be, you know, mutual. We think that it has to be this for this person and everything. So what enthusiastic consent does is tells us that we're worthy of being able to define our sexual identity. You know, so many women of color, before they even enter this world, are already defined. And what enthusiastic consent can do is affirm us in our identity, affirm us in our control, affirm us in our autonomy and independence and consent. So that's all I gotta say with that one.
And I just want to say thank you, because you shared a lot about, you know, your experiences and, you know, what you went through, and I think I'm learning so much from you. So I just want to say thank you. And I also, you know, would definitely say to all the women out there, like, make sure you take time to appreciate yourself, to, you know, love yourself, find what it is that you like, that you benefit from, before you go into any situation or experience in which you're, you know, trying to follow up with an expectation from someone else. And I think it's that, and explore unapologetically. Don't, like, the shame that it comes about, it is gonna be here for a minute. So might as well, bitch, just do it. Just do it. But do it safely. Do it safely. And I don't know. That's a wrap?
That's a wrap.
Look. So, you know, we're going to say a quick thank you. Thank you to Skyla Figueroa, our marketing manager.
Alexis Metcalf.
She's not here today, but, you know.
Videographer, editor.
Yes. Kim Noft, our sound engineer. And thank you to our Waveform team. But also thank you to everyone that's listening, that has been showing us so much support, honestly.
Yes, thank you so much.
All the time. And make sure, you know, we're already on Spotify. Anchor. Google Podcast. Apple Podcast. Breaker. Pocket Cast. Radio Public. And make sure you check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe.
Please.
And we're on social media. You already know, DamnBoo Podcast _ on Instagram, and DamnBoo everywhere else.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, until then, y'all, be safe, and we love y'all.
Bye.